Hi, okay, whole bunch of stuff. It's Saturday. Let's start with the wingtips cut off, clipped off. I was going to try and save them, but actually when I looked at them, I decided that honestly they were not at all what I wanted. So that's already an improvement, which does mean that I need to create 2 new wingtips. But it's not a big deal, and I'll show you why. But I just want to show you that wingtip. Sorry, I mean the edge of the wing. Now the remaining little problem is that. And that was actually quite a little tricky one. And keep in mind that my reference up to now has been that. The Hella, which is very, very nice. But that wingtip is small enough that, and correct enough, that you hardly pay it any attention. Now the question is, does the aileron actually go straight all the way to the end? And I had to do a whole bunch of searching. And it's very, very subtle. Now one thing to note is that the wingtip itself, if you look over here, actually ends shorter than the straight line extension of the end of the aileron. So it gets a little bit tricky right at the end there. What this model has done is give it a curvature. Now that's not correct, but it's very difficult to realize that that's not correct, because at a certain distance, viewing the actual aircraft, all the pictures online, you can actually imagine that it's either straight or curved like that. The 3-view line drawings actually indicate it as curved, and I suspect these kit manufacturers just grab the 3-view line drawings, which means you just propagate an error. Whereas the actual aircraft does not have a curved tip. What it is a angle on the last, what is probably the last rib of the aileron, which means that it goes straight and then there's a slight angle just on the last rib, but it's so slight that at a slight distance away it just looks like it's curved in. Now I don't want an incorrect wingtip. I mean, there's things I'll be pedantic about and there's things I won't be pedantic about, but the wingtip sort of spoils the look of this thing and that little curvature. Now it's already much better because I've got that tip off, but I'm thinking that if I just straighten that off so that it's not a curve, I might actually be there. It's probably a little bit too long of a curvature. The actual section is quite a short little straight, but I think I can get away with it and therefore not have to do anything further on the aileron. And I think since I'm busy on that, I do actually want to get the next little Hella one going. So that is at least a step in the right direction. The leading edge of the tip, which they didn't have molded on the kit, is the navigation lights. I would like to see if I can do something with that. You get different types, and in fact you get a whole variation of tips on these vampires, which makes it so much more difficult. This one has got that tip, a very rounded tip, and the coloration of the clear part of it is not like they've presented there. It's just a colored bulb inside a clear part, at least on the ones that I've seen. So I'd like to see if I can get a little bit of clear and actually get nice looking nav lights and wingtips on there. So the wingtips that I like are just the straight minimalist ones. not the round one. So I'm going to modify that one as well, which we'll look at slightly, shortly. I've sanded, I've rubbed this down, and that I will go and do a clear coat on right after this. And the reason I can do it now already without putting the nose on is because it's quite acceptable to have the nose as a different coloration piece, so I can completely build the nose separately, which I will probably use the Airfix one, that nose, as a bit of a guideline to put a bunch of plastic card together, as one of you said. The filling and sanding of the little Series 1 Typhoon is not bad. That's all done, which means I can now glue the wings on. I've lost a little bit of the rivet line on the top. Now what I've done is, in pencil mark over there, I've indicated for myself the pencil line of the rivet lines on either side, and I'll run my rivet tool over that to try and give me a little bit of continuity of rivets, even though it changes from raised to pressed in. Now this Typhoon has got the very faint rivets, so actually not a problem and should be a very nice kit to complete. As I said, I have got the wings to the point where it's as good a join as I'm probably going to get, and if I estimate what it'll look like there, it seems to be that the wings are you know, not one with more dihedral and one with less dihedral, but I do have to add that the one, as I did say in one of the videos, the one sort of fits on quite, you know, if I put a little bit of pressure on it, it doesn't really budge in angle, but that one has got a little bit of a budge in angle, which is possibly because of, you see, they've got this slightly recessed, this flat surface is recessed, they've got a ridge around there which helps, but I think it's possibly because of that. I'd like to get it so that it's a flat surface. So what this can also catch you out a little bit, because if you put glue in there, depending on the thickness of your glue, it might not actually touch from the wing surface onto there. But anyway, that's ready to go on. And then the horizontal stabilizers, I can't remember now if they were a reasonable fit or not. Otherwise we might be pinning that as well. So that's getting there. And then we'll talk about paint plan for that one. This Airfix Beaufighter, which I think I might want to be starting slowly, is a pretty simple kit, and it has got its sink marks and everything that need filling. It's got nice fine rivet lines, so I will copy that nose, actually just quite a short little nose. They have got slightly different fuselage profiles on these. This Matchbox Beaufighter is much rounder. If you look at that profile, and if you look at that, they've got flattened sides. I'm guessing that's the correct one. So I won't copy it too exactly, otherwise I'm going to end up with a little bit of a flattened side, but I will use that since I have that available. Oh, I see this one has got a damaged prop, but not a big problem. So yeah, quite a simple kit, this one actually, and I might do this one undercarriage up as well, since I do have the later Airfix, which is obviously much more detailed and much better undercarriage. But this one does have a nice decal set. If it's this one's that I'm holding up, I think it is TF deck. Yes, it's that one. Although one tends to get a little bit excited about invasion stripes when in fact it's better to paint them on, but at least the rest of the decals are nicely presented. So slowly I'll start putting that airframe together, and probably I think I would actually like to do it in that box scheme, but I don't think I'll use those decals. I will spray on the invasion stripes. Now, as I did also say, and I'm not sure if this is the one that I'll do first, because I've got a sort of 3 of these hella old-time French. So I do want to start slowly getting one of them moving. I have been dabbling with this Jeep. This is Monogram Revell 1/24th CJ, what is it, 7 something, I can't remember exactly. Now I did build one long ago. I'll dig that one out from long ago. For a long time it stood in its blue plastic. Unfortunately this one is white plastic, which means it does take a little bit of, you know, extra coloration to get it down to a, you know, a hard look, a metal look. So far all I've done is really just deep brown the underside, and I haven't really thought about a color scheme or anything, really just looking to do it a reasonable box presentation. So while I'm sort of waiting for other things to dry, or I just want to clean up a couple of parts, the Jeep is also on the go. So this, because because this vampire is progressing now, I then want to just start getting my head around this one, which is obviously the better kit and a lot more to it. And we have looked at this, so I'm not going to do much of a look now. Just want to refresh it. It's got much nicer decals, of course. That box scheme does look like a good option, although I could also ponder the Canadian. But just looking at these wingtips, so the actual moldings have not included that, which is great. So I don't need to cut anything off. Now the question is, did they provide for different options? So there's one of the wingtips with a space for the nav light. The question is, was there also the smaller tip? Could just have a quick look in here. I mean, sometimes they don't actually even indicate. Sometimes you can get variations of parts without them being indicated, but let's just have a look. quite a molding for the intake. Where are the tips? Are they right at the end then? Yep, looks like they are right at the end. Yes, they only give the one option. Now the nav light for the extended round option is a different nav light, different shape, because it obviously takes up much more space than the very narrow tip which I prefer. So I will not use the clear parts that they've provided. Is it that? Must be those. At a bit of an angle there. But I could possibly modify, I could even modify these for the other one. So that makes it very easy. Actually, now let's just look at the aileron here. Yes, you see they have got that just about the way I've seen it, which is a straight angle. They might have, because I mean they scan, I'm not sure if this is one of the scanned models, but they do scan the real aircraft, and hence one should get things a lot more accurate. Now that is a lot more accurate, though slightly questionable about whether it's a bit too much of an angle there, but let's assume that they got it right. So then I won't modify that, I will just put on new tips. You see, at a quick glance that actually looks rounded. It's not rounded, it's a straight last section, and a much fuller box of parts compared to the trumpeter kit. So a more detailed cockpit and undercarriage and internals. So I suppose I will start looking at and cleaning up parts for that, but it's no rush. Once we've got one 1/48 Vampire in the collection, then that's already very good. Now, there's been a little bit of a detour on the Thunderbolt. Things took a slightly odd turn, unpredicted, and I'm not going to show you what it is right now because I can't touch the model because it's got a bit of paint on it. But as I was planning and what I originally intended has now changed significantly. So we'll talk about that next. It's not a bad detour, it's possibly a good detour, but it's one that I didn't plan whatsoever. It's sort of like I tried something and it's, oh, hold on, that might actually be something interesting. Now this is the big 1/32 P47, which it's got absolutely full internals, and as I was thinking about this one, it's such a shame to actually build all of that internal airflow and radiator and engine and everything and close it up. And I've got that very good P47 1/72 scale, but it does make me wonder if I shouldn't do a half model and let all of the internals be visible, because I mean there's no other model that has it, the full internals. For a closed up and complete model, there's nothing wrong with letting it just be the 1/72. Give your thoughts. Do this complete 1/32, which means closing up all of the good stuff, or a half model, which is slightly odd, but interesting. And hence you end up with sort of like almost a complete second half to do something with. Yeah, ideas, thoughts? Now this little Pavla Models Airspeed Oxford, I like very much because it's the Airspeed Oxford, but not because it's Pavla Models, and I don't commonly build these type of kits. Let's call it a non-mainstream manufacturer. It's okay, and I don't think I've built anything by them, and I don't have much to say except I hope I can complete an airframe. I hope I can actually build it. So I just want to show you. So that's, you know, that's the size of it. That was one of those aircraft I showed you from our museum. Nice surface texture, recessed lines. Not tons of stuff. You've got some resin parts, which I guess is okay. I don't necessarily get excited by resin parts. Vac form, which is good and bad. It's good because it's thin, and it's bad because it's not as robust. But I would like this to be as part of the collection of twins. I think the Airspeed Oxford is a important twin, and I do like the British twins, so I suppose I need to start gradually cleaning up. See the tip. In general, the quality of the finer aspects of the molding, the connection to the trees, things like that. I hope this doesn't have warp. Doesn't look like it has any warping. The styrene plastic is different. In fact, I hope it is an acceptable styrene plastic. I have to test how much that glues. I'll do a little test on the inside there. You can almost hear it's got a different sound. So we have 2 resin engines, 2 resin wheels, a couple of odds and ends inside. It will need a little bit of internal detailing. It's got an instrument panel. There honestly isn't a whole lot. The props don't look bad, but they might be a bit wide, but that's I'm okay with that. Okay, so got a cockpit, an entire floor for the whole aircraft. So probably a little bit of extra detailing on this one, because you do have a reasonable view, and it's vac form canopies. And I'm only ever going to build one Airspeed Oxford. So I guess that one can also enter the slow cleanup pile. Right, so off to inside to do the clear coat, and I'll just see if I can do the clear on the Hudson as well, and then start getting my head around what to do on the Hampton. I do like the Hampton quite a lot as well, because it is such an odd aircraft. The thinnest bomber that you can imagine, where the person sitting inside it, you know, can barely even go arms out fully when you're touching both sides of the fuselage. And very long and stringy type of thing, Quite interesting, and yet quite appealing. Good proportions, nice layout. Okay, happy modeling, and let's see if I can do nice clear spraying. Cheers.